Welcome to the first episode of Frontline Unscripted. I'm your host, Sarah Nicastro. So, we have recorded over 350 episodes of the Unscripted podcast. And if you aren't familiar, that is a weekly podcast where I am talking with business leaders across different industries, mostly service centric in nature, about the challenges they're facing, the trends that they see, the lessons they've learned, and so forth. Over many years of doing that, one of the things that comes up time and time again is the importance of listening to the voice of the front line, which is what sparked the idea for this new series, Frontline Unscripted. So, in this series, rather than talking to business leaders, I will be talking to folks that are in frontline positions and getting their perspective on all sorts of different things. We're starting that series today with Phil Manchester, who is a service team lead at Airtight Facilities. And we're going to be talking today about the question, why not shoot for the moon? Phil, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you here. When we connected to talk about doing this episode together, I learned so much, and I realized that I've spent all of these years kind of focused on this one perspective. And while you learn certain, macro sentiment from kind of looking at what leaders are looking at, I learned so much in our conversation. So I'm excited to share that with our listeners. So to start, can you just give them a bit of the backstory you shared with me? So, kind of what you thought you would be when you grew up, and then how that kind of translated into what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I started off life, racing dirt bikes. My dad raced three wheelers. They don't exist anymore when I was that age, so we got into dirt bikes, and that was one thing that really piqued my interest in mechanical things because I was always out there in the shop working with him on those, and then that turned into going to work with him on his construction sites and learn how to do that stuff. And, it was really early on. I just knew that I liked to work with my hands and build things and fix things and figure out how everything works. I needed to figure it out. Like my mom got mad at me a couple times for taking apart vacuums and not being able to put them back together yet. And then my dad had to sit there when he got home from work putting the dang vacuum back together because I was bored and found a screwdriver. So that all led into me getting a job at a Fage dairy. They make Greek strained yogurt, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do in what industry. I loved construction, and I still love doing it, but I didn't want to do it as a job. I just
Mhm.
wanted to do that as my hobby, and ended up being a facilities technician that kind of took me under his wing a little bit and told me about HVAC. In upstate New York, we didn't have a lot of air conditioning, so it's not something I thought about too much. So he took me under his wing, told me about a college HVCC in Troy, New York. They had an HVAC program, and told me, it's a lot of brain, but it's a lot of working on things with your hands. And he thought I'd enjoy it, so I said, you know what, why not? Let's check it out. Found out how much it costs, and I know I've spent $12,000 in worst ways. So I said, let's get it. Let's give it a try and see if I like it. And here I am now, over 10 years later, still doing it, and I'm loving it every day.
Yeah.
Most days. Most
Most
days.
days, yes. Well, none of us love our jobs every single day. And I know you had said that as you were growing up, your perception of an office job is that you felt like it would feel like you're still in school. Like you didn't want to be sitting still every day, I guess, as part of it. Like you knew that you wanted to, like you said, use your hands. You wanted to solve problems. You wanted to work on things, build things, fix things. And it was a matter of sort of figuring out what that would look like from a career perspective.
Yeah, obviously, if most people don't love high school and middle school and all that, I absolutely hated it. The whole sit in a chair all day long and stare at a desk and books was not any fun. And to me, the office type job, just that's exactly what I thought it was going to be like. And whether it is or it isn't, that's just what it clicked in my head
Hmm.
was. I was a kid staring out the window like I am right now every once in a while. I was just liking to see outside, liking to be outside, liking to work with my
Mm-hmm.
hands, and the whole idea of going to the same place every day to work on the same stuff didn't really translate with me a lot either. And I did it for a few years. I really didn't like going to the same place. So now being in a service truck, I get to see all kinds of different businesses, buildings, equipment. It's just that variety of things. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
nothing is ever the same during the day. You might be doing the same job, but the equipment's different, the site's different, the customers are different. It just feels like something new every day.
Yeah. That's a good point because when you were at FIA, you were working with your hands, right? But you were in the same location day after day. And so part of it for you was also you like the variety of being at different locations and being out literally in the field and, visiting different places, encountering different situations, that sort of thing. What are some of the other aspects that you really enjoy about your role?
Um, so I mean, just it's always a good feeling when someone it's not a good thing when someone has a problem, but when you get to go there and they're over there sweating because it's 95 degrees out and their business is about to shut down and you go there and you figure out what's wrong and you basically just made their day.
Hmm.
They're always so happy. Normally, are always so happy that oh, I can feel the cool air coming out of the vents now. I'm so happy. And it's always a good feeling. Like I didn't save the world, but I definitely made their day better, which
Hmm.
make me feel better and makes me proud of what I'm doing. Um, that's one of the biggest things, and it's kind of translated into when I got this team lead role into helping some younger technicians on our team start to grow and learn and being a part of shaping that. We
Hmm.
all have mentors that we dealt with and we got to learn from, and I've had my own, and it's cool to now be the mentor and not the mentee, and getting to help shape these guys' futures and get them along to where I know they can be, even
Hmm.
if they don't quite see it yet sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to come back to that in a moment. I want to go back to the one point that you said when you were considering the HVAC space, you said someone told you it was like a great combination of brains and, working with your hands, fixing things. How have you found you like that combination? It's not mindless work that you're doing, right? Like it takes a good amount of mental ability to diagnose the issue, to figure out, what's necessary for you to resolve it, et cetera. So there's that combination of, using both your hands and your brain in all of these different environments day after day. How do you like that?
Yeah, man, it's a nice balance because there's some days where I feel like physically I didn't do anything, but I had to sit there and work my way through a problem with a meter or in a manual and use my brain to get through this issue. And it may be as simple as just reconnecting some wires or changing out one small part that takes 5 minutes, but it took a couple hours to find that part that was bad. And then there's other days where, yeah, I get to turn the brain off and just work and just
Mm-hmm.
do what I do. And it's I wouldn't want too much of the brain and I wouldn't want too much of just doing the brawn.
Mm-hmm.
This industry really gives you a nice balance of
Mm-hmm.
both, where sometimes you got to muscle things around and sometimes you got to outthink the problem.
Yeah.
And it just creates that where nothing's ever the same each day, where you get to
Mm-hmm.
have some variety and feel like it's something different and you're doing it differently each day, and just breaks up the monotony of the work life.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely can understand that. I think it's interesting. I've always enjoyed being in roles where I have a lot of variety as well. I can't imagine myself like doing a job that is literally the same thing every day, that's more formulaic. And some people love that. It's just not for me. So I definitely understand that part. Phil, what would you say is hardest? So we talked about what you enjoy most about the role. What, really challenges you, or are there any aspects of it that have those moments where you're like, I should have went into something else, or, I really, really don't like this part.
Any day it's cold and raining and I'm on a roof, and
Mm,
that's one of them. It's like every time you're out there pressure washing a cooling tower and it's 28 degrees out and starts to rain, you're like, why did I not either have rich parents or go into an office? What kind of the worst days, but one of the hardest things, we can always put on coats and get warm and go inside and warm up, but one of the hardest things has been like transitioning to this team lead role where when I was a service tech, it was about here's your call, go do it, figure out the problem, fix it, go on to the next one. Now, as a team lead, I have to worry about. So we have a service manager who's in the office, team lead. I'm out in the field, still doing my own calls, but I'm also there as that buffer between the 9 service technicians that are on our team and the manager.
hmm
I'm the first call for tech support. I'm the first call for paperwork support. If they just have a brain fart and need a reminder of something they know, but they just can't pull it out of the filing cabinet up there. So learning how to deal with in a productive manner, in a good manner, 9 different personalities
hmm
and how each one of those people should be talked to. Or one guy I can just answer the phone, hey, what's up? What do you need? Another guy might think I'm mad or in a bad mood
hmm
because I answer that way. So that has been the hardest part. And for the good stretch of the beginning of my team lead role, I wasn't very good at it at all. And it rubbed some guys the wrong way. And over the last year, I've had to repair those relationships by working on myself and really learning how to talk to them
hmm
well. And that's been the hardest struggle because it's a lot of finger pointing in the mirror like, nope, you're doing that wrong, you need to work on that. That wasn't them, they were just asking a question, you answered it like a jerk.
hmm
That's it's been really hard to just be like, you're doing stuff wrong and point at
hmm
yourself and have to actually really work on it and not be able to ignore it, like as a service tech, be like, well, I was a jerk to that guy, but he'll get over it, it doesn't matter. Now
hmm
they're looking to me for that help, and if they stop calling because I'm always in a bad mood or they think I'm always in a bad mood or they just don't like me because of how I respond to them, I'm doing a horrible job as a leader, a team lead,
hmm
and that can't happen. So that's been an interesting journey over the last, I say, 6 months or so,
Yeah.
trying to fine tune my EQ skills, I guess,
hmm
that I didn't think I would ever have to do. I thought I was just going to be turning wrenches and
hmm
answering to the ivory tower, but that's changed.
Yeah.
But it's changing me for the better. So
Yeah. And I have to commend you, Phil, because the self-awareness that you just described to recognize, okay, this is actually a me thing, and I need to work on this, and I want to do better and be better. I mean, I've talked to leaders that have been leading for 20 years and still haven't mastered that art. And it's really unfortunate. So I give you a lot of credit that early on, you have been able to say, like, okay, I'm not really doing as well at this as I want to. So how do I figure out exactly what is going wrong and what I need to do differently? I'm curious. You shared that you weren't doing a good job at first and you had to repair some of those relationships and you've kind of been working on that. What helped you realize that you needed to do things differently? Like, was it sort of a collective understanding, or was there a moment where kind of a light bulb went off that you were able to kind of point to yourself and take accountability for how things were going and start doing things differently?
I think I got a little lucky in that aspect of I have a guy that works on our team and we've become, good acquaintances and he's not afraid to shoot it straight to me.
hmm
So when I'm doing something, he'll tell me. I also have a wife that's not afraid to tell me when I'm, being a jerk and point that out. And I think it was a combination of things that I did wrong in my personal life that I didn't notice at work. And when I got put
hmm
in this position and had now not just, okay, my wife was just being a little um, sensitive today. and
Mm-hmm.
I need to, she'll be okay. Now I have, grown men in the field that can deal with a lot of crap being thrown their way, telling me that I'm being an insensitive jerk. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a big thing. And we had a guy that started with us, he wasn't with us long, and we butted heads really bad. And that kind of was another one that happened at the same time where I was like, okay, there's going to be people like this. Now, I didn't stay long, but there's going to be people like this in the world, and I got to figure out how to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a customer that's like this towards me or another technician, I still need to be there to help this guy, even if we're not going to be buddy buddy. I still
Mm-hmm.
got to be there. I still got to help. And figuring out how to navigate that all in a diplomatic manner was it was really hard because I was not good at it. I was still
Mm-hmm.
very short tempered and it didn't go well. So this
Yeah.
short tenure was very rough
Mm-hmm.
on the two of us.
Yeah.
But all that kind of came together. It seemed like at one time, and it was like not a light bulb, but a slow like dimmer coming up. Like okay, you need to start working on this, but it'll be fine till later. And then
Mm-hmm.
eventually, I was like, nope, I'm gonna ruin a team of guys that were working together pretty dang well, and I'm gonna be the cause of things being worse, and that
Yeah.
can't happen.
Yeah. The other thing you pointed out that I think is a really great observation that is a shift, and some folks do it well and others need to work on it too, is that recognition that not every team member needs the same leadership, right? So, like you said, the way that you can respond to one person and you have that sort of rapport and relationship and you can just be direct and to the point and you understand each other versus another person that you need to remember, okay, like let me start with, hey, how are you? And kind of ease into things. That's a really astute observation because that's true, I think, today across all different industries, all different size organizations, et cetera. The era of a leader being the person that just tells people what to do is no longer, right? So if you're actually there to help people, people require help in different ways. What's effective with one won't be effective with another. So I think it's really impressive that you learned that relatively quickly. And I'm curious, how have you taken that recognition? Like, what are the things you've been doing to work on, being more individualized in how you interact with people and just showing up, I guess, better than you felt you were before?
Yeah, so I try to read every morning a little bit, like
Hmm.
I'm reading some leadership books, and I found that I like to read in the morning because right before I go to work, I get to read a chapter of whatever book I'm reading, and if there's something in there I can take to work with me and try to put it into practice that day and see how it
Hmm.
works for me and whoever I interact with. Um, and it's just been about learning each guy individually and spending some time working with them, really talking, and maybe not all about work, just
Hmm.
about them and learning kind of a little bit more background in each person. And then it kind of helped how I had to speak to them.
Hmm.
So, and then just mental notes on every guy of just like, okay, this guy likes me, likes to, hey, good morning, how you doing?
Hmm.
And this person's like, they just need an answer to a question and they want to get off the phone because they don't want to be on it. And that's just something I think took me some time, and I think it would take anybody some time. You just got to learn people
Hmm.
at least to a certain degree to be able to be. I don't even know what the word I want is. um, working together
Effective in
well,
how you're
effective.
leading
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Right. So I think you just got to learn people, and that's not something I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
So figuring it out kind of was like a deer trying to walk. I'm stumbling all over the
Mm.
place, but it seems to be getting better, and it's in the last few months it's come around where guys that didn't call me ever for help, now I'm the first call they make.
Hmm.
So, there's one guy that we butted heads really hard, me and him. Now we worked together fine, but if something went wrong, we were just
Hmm.
slamming heads against each other, and it felt really good. I just awesome feeling. Got chills when he said it. He's like, "Man, you are light years better than you were 6 months ago."
That's
He goes,
awesome.
I feel like I can ask you anything and talk to you about it. I'm like, well, that's what I'm trying to do. So thank you, and
Hmm.
it was really rewarding to know that the stuff that I'm doing is working.
Yeah. Yeah, because you get that sense, right? If the interactions start to feel better, but to actually hear that from someone that you're trying to build that relationship or repair that relationship with is definitely very impactful. All right, I love it. So, you said a little bit ago when you were talking about taking on the team lead role, like you said, you never really imagined yourself doing this. You thought, you would just be turning a wrench and doing your own jobs day in and day out. Um, and so I'm curious how you kind of got to the point then that this was an opportunity. And now when we spoke, I think having this team lead role has opened your eyes to, you know, more opportunities and more potential as a leader. You said that you're big on setting goals for yourself, and how we came up for the title is, you said, "Why not shoot for the moon?" And I just love that. So, what do you think kind of helped you shift from this kind of mindset of, yep, I like this work. I like being out and about. I like the variety. I like problem solving. I like working with my hands. I'm going to do this forever, to sort of starting to be open to the idea of more and more and more and more.
I mean, that started a long time ago when I was just a kid. I mean,
Hmm.
racing dirt bikes is an individual sport, other than your mechanic working on the bike, which is when you're a kid, your dad or your mom. Um, no one was gonna make you go do better. So if you wanted to do better, you had to set a goal to do better, and you had to
Hmm.
work at it to get there. So I mean that was really big in my life, teaching me, I gotta set goals and I gotta get to them. And it's kind of what I've always done through life is try to set a 5-year goal. And if I can get to it, great. If not, I just need to try harder until I do. And then as soon as I make it, we're gonna set another goal.
Hmm.
Um, I always thought I would turn wrenches and never wanted anything to do with the office. I was like, nope, somebody else can have that. That's not my thing. Um, but as I kind of started to do more, it wasn't just tech stuff, like creating an orientation training for our paperwork. And it started to become cool, the feeling that when I would make that and I put the video out and someone would be like, wow, I've been wondering how to do this for 6 months. And now you just showed us how to do it. Thank you. And that helping someone and actually seeing the results of what you did really started to resonate with me. And so we had the team lead position come open, and I was like, well, you know what? It wouldn't be a bad idea. Might as well try for it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
My dad always said, you can do whatever you want in life. You can scrub toilets, but you better be the best dang toilet scrubber there is out there. So
Hmm.
to me, that's just keep going and keep trying to do better.
Hmm.
It's just helping my career, and if me helping myself, if I have to help other people to help me, I mean, I think it's a no brainer. And then it started to become more of a thought of, if I help other people, that just helps me personally feel better, and
Hmm.
eventually I'll do better just off of that
Right.
type of thing. So I just keep pushing to try to get more, and once I started in the team lead role, that feeling of helping people got better and better and better. And then I went to a training that was a leadership summit for Service Logic, our
Hmm.
parent company, and I was like, you know what, this would actually be really cool. I think I would really enjoy the switch up at some point to become the leader that I know I can be
Hmm.
with work, and actually help these guys get to where they want to be in their
Yeah.
career, and not be so much about me anymore and what I need, but to help other people has become just kind of grown into wanting to help people with
Hmm.
their careers, which
Yeah.
is strange because I didn't like people ever at all, and now all of a sudden I want to help people, and it's
Yeah.
it's different. My wife is like, this is weird a little bit sometimes.
I think it's just you've unlocked a superpower that you have, I think is what, like, you're clearly, in my opinion, made for that role. Like the fact that you haven't been doing it for that long and you've done this much work on yourself, and you you had even mentioned earlier, like not only helping people become what they want or to accomplish their goals, but helping them see their potential when maybe they don't see it yet, I think, is such a great way of looking at a leadership role. Um, One of the things, I know we're getting really off course, but that's why the podcast is called Unscripted. That I would love to ask you is, you mentioned you always like to have a 5-year plan for yourself ever since you were young, and you try and work toward that. And you said, and if I don't hit it, I just keep going. I'm curious if there's anything you can point to that helps you have that attitude instead of I didn't accomplish it, so I feel defeated, I give up, I'm not going to set a next goal because I didn't reach this one. Like, how do you kind of keep looking ahead instead of spiraling when, you don't accomplish a goal you've set for yourself? Or, like you said at the beginning when we started talking about the team lead role, like when you have that moment of having to look in the mirror and be like, uh-oh, like it's actually me that's the problem. How do you just seem to like, okay, well, I'm going to do what I need to do to get better then, instead of, letting your mind kind of turn negative. Is there anything you can think of in terms of what helps you do that?
Yeah, so I mean, I won't go into too much detail, but as a youngin, as a teenager, I got into a lot of trouble all the time. I wasn't a very well-behaved teenager. Um, and when people would say, oh, you did XYZ, so you're not going to amount to anything in life. That started a fire within me to prove people wrong that just ain't it hasn't went out. And
Hmm.
now it's not as much as anyone saying I can't do it. It's just if I don't I'll beat myself up if I don't do something more than anybody else ever will. I
Hmm.
don't think I've had many bosses that ever had to like, you did this wrong, don't do it
Hmm.
again, because they already know I'm beating myself up that I didn't accomplish what I set out to do.
Hmm.
And it almost pisses myself off that I didn't do it.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, I guess I got to just dig down and make it happen, because if I give up, I'm always going to have the what if in the back of my head, and I just can't live with that. I
Yeah.
hate the what ifs in life that, well, if I would have just tried for another month, reading, doing this or that, I could have accomplished what I set out for.
Hmm.
And it's so I just don't want to live with the what ifs in life. I want to
Yeah.
set a goal, make the goal, and if it doesn't happen on my timeline, which goals, you might set a 5-year goal to become president of the United States, and that ends up happening in 20. If I
Right.
gave up at year 5, I would have never known. And
Hmm.
it's not something that ever worked for me. And a lot of, like I said, that comes from some trouble in my teen years and racing.
Hmm.
If I wanted to win a race and I knew this guy was better than me, I had to go during the week and work until I was better
Hmm.
than him. And if you didn't, no one was going to come save you. No
Right.
one's going to come push you across the finish line. It's just you and against the world for the most part,
Hmm.
to make happen what you want, and it's just something I kind of try to carry with me, because the negative stuff, it's not good for you, and it's not good for anyone in your life to just spiral because something
Right.
didn't work out just quite right.
Well, if you let
And
that take hold, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like to your point, if you just keep going, I think sometimes people don't realize how much they could accomplish if they just didn't stop when it got hard. Do you know what I mean? Like it's if you just, to your point, it's like, okay, well, I set a goal for 5 years. It might take me 6, but I'm not going to know if I don't keep plugging away at it, right? And I think you'll do great things as a result, right? I think sometimes people let that self-doubt creep in too much, and it can hold a lot of people back. So yeah, I think that's really good. So I'm curious, you mentioned that you are supporting now not only yourself to get your work done, but these 9 technicians, and you said they range in age from 20 to 65. So, we already talked about the fact that regardless of age, they're all different people, right? And they require different types of communication and a different approach that you've learned really quickly to be successful in how you're interacting with them. But are there any kind of differences you've noticed, age or otherwise, in terms of like, what they want out of either their day-to-day employee experiences or their careers?
Oh, definitely. I mean, one of our guys, he's getting ready to retire. So, I mean, talking to him is, it's I relate more to how I can talk to him more naturally. It seems like it happens a lot with the older age group. People are a little bit more blunt a lot of the time, and you can just be straightforward to the point and like, all right, let's get off the phone. We don't want to sit here texting and calling all day long, which I like, but compared to some of the guys who are about 20 years old, some things have to be said a little nicer and maybe tiptoed around a little bit, which I don't, it's not a problem. It's just
Hmm.
everybody's a little different. And learning that is the hardest part. And if you're
Right.
set in the ways of being too blunt and too honest and just here's your information and bye, it's not going to work for the younger generation.
Hmm.
They want a little bit more of the why behind things than just
Hmm.
here's the information, go. They're asking why. Most of the younger guys on my team, it's like, okay, go do this. Why am I doing that? Well, oh, okay, you don't even know why. Let's go. I'll show you, and we'll go over it, and we'll
Hmm.
show you why we do these things, so that there's a reason behind it,
Hmm.
and you can take that as someone talking back to you, or you can take it as, oh, they just want to learn.
Hmm.
They don't want to just be told what to do. They want to know why they're doing it,
Hmm.
and you know it presents its challenges, but it's a good thing. It means they're
Hmm.
hungry for knowledge, and I love that. I mean, you give me a guy who knows everything but wants to do nothing.
Hmm.
I'll take the kid who doesn't know anything but wants to do everything
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. What about things like, flexibility or recognition versus compensation? Like, well, maybe I don't know if you're having those conversations because to your point, you still have the service manager who is more of that's who they report to. Um, I'm just
I
thinking
mean,
like there's we talk quite a bit about the fact that there are not only differences in across generations of how people prefer to communicate sometimes, but also in what they're looking for, from their work. Like some people might come in at 20 and they have an eye to, I want to progress, I want to, grow, expand. You know, a lot of times we talk about the fact that flexibility is more important to younger talent, et cetera. Have you noticed any kind of trends or
I mean, yeah, I mean, I always talk about to these guys about that stuff to a degree. I can't do much about it at this
right?
point, but I can still talk to them about it so that if some point in my career I do become a manager, I kind of have this information
Mm-hmm.
stored away somewhere. Yeah, I mean, it seems like some of the older generation, they're kind of more like, hey, give me a good paycheck, give me an extra week of vacation, a nice bonus at the end of the year, and I'm happy as can be, as long as you're not looking over my shoulder with everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
Where the younger generation definitely, I feel like they like more of the connection
Mm-hmm.
to the team in the office, where
Mm-hmm.
they kind of want to know those people a little bit, and just giving them another dollar, which of course everybody wants more money.
Yeah.
But the other stuff, like where we started doing, company lunches like 3, 4 times a year, they love that stuff. They come to the office, they eat food. We put out cornhole and the axe throwing
Mm-hmm.
game, and it just creates a little bit of camaraderie between everybody, and they definitely enjoy that more. You can tell kind of the older generation just sits over here after they've eaten and wait to be told they can leave. And the younger guys are kind of more doing the mingling and the playing games, and it just makes it fun.
Yeah.
They want that balance in work, where it's not just like I'm gonna go do my 9 to 5 grind and punch away at this job. I want to have a little fun when I do it. And
Mm-hmm.
might be different for some people, but
Yeah.
you definitely gotta. It's not a bad thing. It's just boosting morale for those younger guys and making them want to stay with that particular company longer.
Hmm.
Um, and then you got the guys in the middle where I like both. Sometimes, some
Yeah.
days I just want to be left alone to do my work and go, and some days I want to cut up and have a good time while we're working. And it's
Yeah.
just it's a very wide range. Between what is it, like 5 generations working now
Yeah.
of what everybody wants and needs. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
you always have people that will break the mold, right? That might be the exception to what you would categorize as the characteristics of what their generation likes or wants, right? So it goes back to the point you made, which is the importance of getting to know these people a bit, like as humans, right? And just what's important to them, you know, how how do they kind of prefer to interact and like, who are they outside of work, right? Like I think you can be a better leader if you take the time to understand the people that you're leading because how else are you going to understand what they value and what they're looking for and how you can help them most effectively. um I'm curious, I wanted to ask about the role of technology, so the role that plays in your day-to-day life now, how you think that will evolve. I mean, AI is a huge topic of conversation. So, if that kind of comes into your thinking, what are your thoughts on kind of the current use and future use of technology?
yeah. I mean, obviously, technology is a great thing when it's used properly. I mean, we used to have a meter that was in a box like this big and it weighed 10 pounds and you had to carry it around. Now I got one that weighs, half a pound and it does everything. I don't need six different things to do one job. I can have one meter does them all. Analog gauges, big heavy analog gauges. Now we got little digital probes that are this big that don't lose any refrigerant. The advancement of technology is great. I mean, there's certain things that obviously could go be used in the wrong manner, but
Hmm.
like AI, they talk about, AI is going to come for jobs. Well, certain ones, possibly, yeah, ones that can be repetitive and just put to an algorithm and done a million times a minute, that'll be great. But I mean, I think we're a long way out of anyone in the trades ever getting replaced by, a robot climbing up on a roof to diagnose a unit. But when it comes to AI in some of the apps that they're putting it in, it's very helpful. I mean, I can search a model number and AI will search the entire internet for the answer, and I can have the
Hmm.
answer in 10 seconds
Yeah.
and a
You have to
little bit of
validate it
reading.
though. Like you have to
Right.
kind of, to
Um,
your point, you have to
yeah.
know your stuff, right? Because you don't want to
Right. I
read
mean,
a false answer and then you're off and running doing the wrong thing or what have you. Like you have to apply your own intelligence to what information it's serving up.
right. I mean, as an apprentice guy who doesn't know anything to trust Google AI every single time, don't do that. I have read
Hmm.
some fun answers on there, and I'm like, that's not right. I know that. Like,
Yeah. I don't
but
know what's right, but I know this is not it.
like that doesn't sound right at all. I don't even know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we have to know how to use that tool. I
Hmm.
mean, it's not just a blind like, okay, that's what Google said. Perfect.
Yeah.
You got to still be able to deduct what's right and what's not, but it's helped a lot. I mean, and now
Hmm.
they have AI generated service call summaries. I
Yeah.
could fill out this information and it gives me a summary. Now, again, sometimes those summaries sound exactly like what wrote it,
Hmm.
AI. It does not sound like a human whatsoever, and where you're going to have to rewrite half of it to make it sound right. Um, but I mean, for certain people, if you struggle with English a little bit, I mean,
Hmm.
we're not Einsteins out in the field, not everyone, some of us are not very good with technology and typing and that AI stuff. I mean, you type in 10 sentences, it gives you 2 paragraphs of a
Hmm.
nice, clean, professional write up to hand to a customer. So, I mean, it's definitely going to help if we use it correctly. But if we
Hmm.
start to rely on it too much, it becomes a crutch that slows us down and doesn't do us any good.
Yeah. I was thinking about what you said in terms of, we're a long way from it taking any jobs in the trades. And I was thinking about, I listened to a presentation last fall. It was a Harvard Business Review future of work presentation. It was all virtual, but they had like a day of speakers. And Walmart's CEO at the time spoke. Now he has since he retired and there's a new CEO. But this wasn't all that long ago. I think it was the beginning of November. But he was actually talking, a part of his session was around how Walmart is planning to use AI, like what their AI strategy is. And a part that, HBR wasn't going to focus on, but I found so interesting is when he got into sort of talking about the reality, right? That like it will replace some jobs in if you think about the retail context, like there are certain jobs that, to your point, they are very formulaic. They are something that technology could do. What they're actually doing is finding people within those roles that want to do something else in the organization. And one of the biggest areas that they are exploring and acting on is turning those employees into technicians. Because he was saying, we have all of these systems across all of our stores that need fixed. There's so many shortages in, trades workers. So why not have our own, team, et cetera? So I'm like, how interesting is that? That, one of the biggest companies, looking at AI like part of their strategy for how they will redeploy their workforces into field technicians, like it's just a really interesting thought.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's like with HVAC, you know, the more AI and the more computers, the more data centers, and the
Mm-hmm.
more computing power you need. Well, data centers create a lot of heat.
Mm-hmm.
You need people like me to go and work on the stuff that keeps all that stuff cool,
Yeah.
or it all just crashes and it's useless technology.
Yeah.
So this whole push to AI has created more, more of these data centers, more of these server banks, and more work for us.
Mm-hmm.
And as it expands, as far as it's going to go, that's just going to expand the amount of work that we have and that
Mm-hmm.
we're going to need to do.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, I see it, on LinkedIn and stuff, the talking points about all that. And so I mean, for me and for our trade, I mean, it's just creating more work, and
Mm-hmm.
that means we need more people, and there is a shortage. So I'm happy that companies are, maybe you weren't, your role is going to be taken by that, but if we can help you transition into a role
Yeah.
that is going to have a plethora of work for forever,
Mm-hmm.
then I mean that's great on them.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty cool. Okay, Phil, two more questions that I want to ask. One is, and I want to go back to your philosophy of why not shoot for the stars. So, with that in mind, if you were to give advice or words of wisdom to a young person, someone, maybe still in school who is considering a career in HVAC or in the trades, what advice would you give them?
Well, you'll never know everything. That's to start with, because it doesn't matter how long you
Truth.
do this. If you ask any technician out there, they'll learn something every day
Mm-hmm.
if you're willing to. I mean, you can close off your ears, close off your eyes, and just punch through the day and not learn a dang thing. But if you keep your eyes open and your ears open and your mind open, you'll find something to learn every single day. I did today. I was helping a guy learn about one thing, and he taught me something on something else, and I was like, "All right, never knew that. Cool."
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this industry specifically, and I'm sure that it's true across the trades, is it's going to come down to it's you're going to be able to learn, grow, and go through this industry and make all the money that you want as fast as you want it. There's our company, training is open.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here's the training. Do it as fast as you can. When you get it done, let's move on to the next stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to push people to learn more because we know that, five guys are retiring and two guys are getting hired.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big gap that's going to be in the middle that needs people to fill that gap, and the faster you can learn, the better. I mean, and it doesn't take much. It's listening to podcasts while you drive your car instead of jamming out to music.
Mm-hmm.
It's, taking 5 minutes a day to read something about the industry, whether it be online or out of a textbook or whatever. I mean, if you put your mind to growing in this industry, you will. There's no
Mm-hmm.
doubt about it, and it's a very rewarding trade. Trades are, I think, in general, if you're that type of person, um, where you're gonna get out of it whatever you put in it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's awesome. I mean, I've only been in the field for since I graduated college about a little over 10 years. I went from knowing the basics from college to working on chillers, which are
Mm-hmm.
very big, complicated pieces of equipment that I still do not know everything about. I have tons to learn about those, but it's where I'm at in 10 years. Now, it's not the normal, but put your head down, read the books, listen to the podcasts, try to soak in as much as you can, as fast as you can, and you'll get it, and you'll be
Mm-hmm.
compensated well for it, and you'll have a comfortable life. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not thirsting Hauer over here, but I eat well, and I have a house, and I'm comfortable. I can turn the air conditioner whatever temperature I want it, and
Mm-hmm.
you know
And
I,
you
I
like
got
what
all
you
the things you
do,
need in life. Yeah.
I mean, that's yeah, not everyone can say that. Yeah. I think it's really cool to see the amount of opportunity that exists, and I came up in an era of it was you go to college or like you'll never become anything, right? And I like to think at least like that narrative has shifted because, we kind of realize, wait, we need people in the trades. We need people doing these other things that keep the whole world running. And now there's, all of this potential for folks to go and realize. Um, the other end of the spectrum, I guess, that I wanted to ask is, if you could share with leaders far removed from the frontline work, so not even, the service manager, but way up in the ivory tower, as you refer to it. Um, what's one thing you would want those folks to know about the frontline role, whether that's something, you've learned from how you've been led or from the work you're doing now in your team lead role? Like, what's something that you feel like there's a disconnect about, or that you wish people high up in the organization understood better about the folks that are on the front line?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I've noticed is it's not too bad at my company. It's real good, but there sometimes the role of when you get up it far disconnected from the field is that you've never it's because you've never done it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you started out very early in your career for a couple years, and that's what brought you to your high up role in this industry. But just I guess every once in a while to reach out to those guys. It doesn't matter where you're at. Our president Clay, if he's got an open door.
Mm-hmm.
I can walk over there and say, "Hey, Clay, how you doing?" and talk with him. And that to me is that creates that connection from what I call the ivory tower. Peek behind the curtain up at the ivory tower, but it gets rid of that stigma
Mm-hmm.
where the guys in the field are oh my god, some guy sitting in an air conditioning desk making decisions for us. Really getting out there and talking to those guys that are out there and figuring out what they need. And maybe even if you're doing a day in a life in, and
Mm-hmm.
not even a whole day, just come out in the field, see what we do, know what we're breaking our you're asking us to break our backs to make you this amount of money, know what that really takes,
Mm-hmm.
see it in the field. um, Go get your hands a little dirty. I mean, you've talked with Greg. He was on your podcast, and I've worked with him side by side. And he's a high up at Service Logic. He
Mm-hmm.
was standing on the roof with me with his bag of tools. That connection to feel like this is just another guy. He's just doing a different job than I am.
Yeah.
It helps a lot, and I think that's going to be a huge as the younger generation comes in to create to build that trust and that loyalty with those technicians that
Mm-hmm.
keep them at a company for a long time,
Yeah.
instead of where you have guys that just job hop from company to company for another raise. That connection with those technicians is going to be something that helps you keep them because
Mm-hmm.
you're showing that you're really interested in them
Hmm.
in their career and to keep it going with your company. I mean, not only saving the turnover cost, you're building up technicians to be exactly what you want from day one apprentice to a master tech, as fast as
Hmm.
you want them to be, and having some loyalty from them and you giving them some loyalty. And I think that'll help a lot going forward.
Yeah.
Um, in the trades. It's no longer of the here's your paycheck, have a
Hmm.
great weekend. We don't
Yeah, it's
talk, we
not
don't
going
know
to cut
nothing
it.
about each other. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
it's not gonna cut it going forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I think it goes back to, really a couple super important points you made at the beginning, which is, number one, I love your point about like, no one knows everything. I mean, either does Clay. Yes, he's, at the top of the top, right? But if he's truly a smart person, he also understands that he doesn't know everything. Like, there's always more to learn, right? Like, we can know a lot, but if you do the work, to your point, if you keep your ears open, you keep your eyes open, you invest just a little bit of time and energy into bettering yourself, that means continuing to learn and grow, right? Um, and I think, people want to feel that they matter. And, one of the best ways you can show people they matter is by listening, getting to know them a bit. And, to your point at the beginning, realizing that there's no one size fits all to leadership. You have to meet people on their level. You have to give them the respect of, individualizing your approach enough to make it successful with them. So I think it's great advice. Phil, I'm so happy to have met you, thanks to Greg, and for you to have come on. I think you know, why not shoot for the stars? I think you could be the next Clay, really. And I say that in no jest. I'm really excited for your journey. I think, the team you're supporting now is really fortunate to have someone who is, doing the work to understand how you can show up better and to continue to grow yourself so you can help them grow in the ways they want to. I just think it's really awesome. So I'm really happy
thank you
that
very
we
much.
got to meet and that you came to share your story with everyone.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I mean, I hope one day we can get up that high up with things. But I got a pretty early start, so hopefully I got plenty of time to get there. I mean,
Yeah,
it's definitely on my list of goals. So we're shooting for the moon, definitely. But you never know what can happen if you don't try. It won't ever happen.
that's right.
So
Yep. One
we're
day
gonna
at a
we're gonna
time.
keep plugging along one day at a time, 1 year at a time, and we'll see what life brings.
Awesome. Well, I'm wishing you the best and I will be cheering you on and would love to have you back at some point in the future.
Sounds awesome. I love that, and thank you for having me. I appreciate you know talking to me and getting the frontline workers' voices out there a little bit better and to the masses. I mean, I'm just one person, but this can help a couple other people want to speak up and get their side of things out too. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, I love it. I appreciate it. It's an honor. So thanks again. You can learn more by visiting the home of Frontline Unscripted at futureoffieldservice.com. The podcast is published in partnership with IFS. You can learn more at ifs.com. As always, thank you for listening.